Merry Christmas, Drake and Josh is a movie that I used to find a bit odd. The fact that this movie came out a full year after Drake and Josh the series had already ended was confusing to me. Like, what was really the point of the movie? Did they want to get a reboot? I was never really sure. But at the same time, I feel like this movie ended up being iconic and remembered by a ton of people who even consider it a Christmas classic to this very day. And since it's been a disgusting 16 years since the movie premiered, I decided it was finally time for a rewatch to see, should Merry Christmas, Drake and Josh really be considered one of the all-time greats? The movie starts off and there's no normal theme song or intro, nothing like the episodes in the series have. Instead, we get some opening credits as Drake drives along minding his own business. And right off the bat, you can notice that the characters are slightly older than we're used to seeing them, because this movie takes place after the events of Drake and Josh. Miranda Cosgrove is definitely playing Carly at this point, and here she is back again as Megan, old enough to ride a motorcycle and drag race people in the streets. Everyone's getting ready for Christmas except for Drake and Josh's parents, who are straight up leaving their family and bouncing out of here for Christmas to a tropical paradise, which is kind of a trash move. Why not bring the family? It's not a honeymoon, it's not an anniversary. They're just ditching the family on Christmas. Josh sets up some inflatable snowman contraption on the front lawn, and when Megan pulls up on her motorcycle, she instantly cuts the string, releasing the balloon into the sky. And then Freddy pops up to reveal he's been live streaming the prank for iCarly. Just kidding. I wish. For real though, the way she just keeps scissors on her at all time is low-key wild. She was riding a motorcycle. It's probably not extremely safe to have scissors in your pocket at that point, right? At this point, Josh chases the balloon away, and we are treated to some really bad looking CGI. So bad you can't help but laugh at it. It's moments like these when you can kind of notice the absence of a laugh track as well. I don't mean it in a bad way. In fact, there's something kind of funny about Josh chasing off a balloon into the sunset with nothing but silence. Drake and Josh head to the mall, and Drake tells Josh about an ugly sweater party that will be happening later. He tells Josh that the sweater he's wearing right now will be perfect, and Josh is clearly offended at his sweater being insulted and is also upset that their parents are leaving for Christmas. So he's a little grumpy today. They head into the premiere, and I love the detail that it is now in a mall because it had to be rebuilt because it burnt down at the end of Really Big Shrimp, the series finale. Great touch. Love it. Crazy Steve is there working, and Helen walks in late saying a giant balloon caused a traffic jam. Josh wreaking havoc in San Diego. What a bozo. She also tells the boys that she got divorced after just 5 weeks, despite the series finale ending with her getting married. Absolutely wild. That was a great emotional moment in the final episode, her getting married in the parking lot. And now, next time we see her, she's like, hell yeah, divorce party. And I love Helen for that. It's kind of fucking hilarious. Helen tells Drake he gets to dress as Santa this year, and Josh can't do it because he's too skinny now, which is funny because Drake's still even more skinny. So we cut to Drake as Santa taking pictures with children on his lap, and Josh by his side playing the actual sack of toys. Drake asks a little kid if he has an older sister and how hot she is. Absolutely crazy. Meanwhile, their parents are on a deserted island, and their deluxe bungalow that Walter booked is next to useless. It's useless. So they are basically stranded in the wilderness, left to their own devices. But back at the mall, Drake is hooking up with a girl in front of everyone dressed as Santa. Could this be the kid's sister? What exactly happened here? Did this girl wait in line to see him? Are the kids watching upset? Then, a less desirable girl shows up, and Drake is assaulted. There's no other way to put it. She jumps on him and tries to make out with him without consent. He runs off in horror as the predator chases him through the mall, attempting to further sexually assault him. And personally, I hate this scene for Drake, man. It's a little too close to home. I don't know if I should say that one. While hiding for his life, a little girl from Bridge to Terabithia finds Drake, and she says she knows he works for Santa, and asks him to promise that her family will have the best Christmas ever. And as Santa, Drake makes the promise. He then steals an old lady's scooter to run from the sexual predator again. Let's be real. Look at the physique. He doesn't think he can outrun her? He really had to nab an old lady's scooter? Did he even ever return it? And then it cuts to a rooftop concert of Drake performing. How did Drake get out of that situation? How did he evade the predator? I want to know. And also, every special has to have a full song performance. It's got to be in the contract. I've now watched Really Big Shrimp, Go Hollywood, and Merry Christmas, and all three of them have a full song performance from Drake Bell. Absolutely banger, though. This one gives us Drake riffing to Jingle Bells, which is actually unintentionally funny, even as someone who is a Drake Bell fan. It's just genuinely hilarious. Mindy and Josh sneak off to have a private moment together, and he says goodbye because she's visiting her family for Christmas. Man, first his parents stitch him for the holidays, now his girlfriend too. Rough Christmas for Josh. But hey, he could be an orphan in a foster home, eh? Right? Yeah? Crazy Steve, on the other hand, is feeling good. He brags to Drake and Josh, telling them about his new girlfriend. He offers to show them some pictures, and they realize he's talking about a wood chipper and not a human woman at all. I'm not sure who let Crazy Steve even have access to that kind of heavy machinery in the first place, which it just doesn't seem safe. And that's wild. It's his girlfriend, though. Also, I was thinking about it. Who took these pictures? Who was the one? Just who did it? Craig and Eric make an appearance and ask Drake to perform at the Christmas parade, but he turns them down, saying it's for dorks and losers. It's a little harsh, eh? And he won't be in town anyway because he's going to Vegas. Josh is upset that yet another person is leaving him for Christmas. And suddenly, and I mean this is out of nowhere, some random guys start trashing the party and flipping tables. Why would they waste perfectly good food like that? A damn shame if you ask me. And Josh goes to teach them a lesson. Or so I thought. Never mind, Josh just calls the fucking cops, just like in Go Hollywood, Josh is being a narc again, which is just absolutely ridiculous. So the cops roll in, they cause a complete riot to break out on the rooftops, ironically letting the real hoodlums get away in the process. The cops put Josh in handcuffs for no clear reason, and then they knock him off the goddamn building. I genuinely had to go back and rewatch this part to make sure my eyes weren't playing tricks on me. Josh plummets down the rooftop and lands in the back of a truck where the people in the truck immediately start driving. The cops think Josh is trying to escape arrest and start a high-speed chase. The guys are too busy jamming out to Christmas music to even see the entire city of cops chasing them. They literally start vibing so hard to the Christmas songs that they drive off the road and onto the sidewalks where they hit a bump, and Josh's body flies out of the moving truck and slams into the concrete. And instead of checking on him, the police arrest him. They grab his mangled and barely alive body and throw it in the back of their cop car. First of all, Josh fell off a building only moments ago, and now he's been thrown out from a moving vehicle onto the road. His neck should be stabilized. He needs an ambulance stat. And second, shouldn't the police be pursuing the truck Josh flew out of? That's a distracted driver if I've ever seen one. He was driving on the sidewalk because he was too engulfed in his Christmas tunes. He didn't even notice the flashing lights and sirens behind him. He actually refused to pull over. The cops should have went after the truck. He's a danger to the public, and poor Josh's body needs medical attention. Cut to Josh getting his mugshot, and is that a wig? It looks so weird. There's something off about it, but I can't tell if it's a bad wig or just Josh entering his Viner persona. He gets thrown in a cell with a large, scary man who says he is going to beat Josh down all day to distract him. Josh does a magic trick and pulls a coin out of the man's ear, and the man is actually impressed and makes him do it again. Meanwhile, Drake is making out with a random girl on the roof, and she asks where Josh is, to which Drake replies, "Your eyes are pretty," and goes back to kissing her. Josh is still doing the trick to keep his cellmate entertained, and the mate ends up accepting Josh as a friend and reveals that his name is Bludge. However, Bludge still says that he's gotta beat down Josh, even though he likes him, because his reputation in the jail cell needs to be upheld. All the criminals listen as Josh gets beat to a pulp, but it turns out they're just playing tricks and pretending to beat Josh, and the two of them are secretly buddies all along. Josh then asks Drake over the phone if he got a lawyer yet, and Drake tells him he gave a guy $3,000 cash in the woods and got ripped off. This is another one of those scenes where the lack of laugh track jumps out at you. It's just this man taking off after Drake hands him money, and the quietness while he scurries away, it makes it somehow even funnier. It gives the movie a unique comedic vibe. and I love it. Drake hangs up on Josh, and Helen brings over the girl from the mall, Mary Alice. Drake doesn't remember her at first, but when she says she's holding him to his promise to make Christmas the best ever, he recognizes her. She tells him she knows he's going to come through since, after all, you can't break a Christmas promise, and Helen backs her up, agreeing that you absolutely, under no circumstances, can break a Christmas promise. Mary Alice then reveals she lives in a foster home with 5 other kids, and her foster mom is sick in the hospital, so she wasn't sure they would even have a Christmas at all until Drake agreed to help. Drake and Helen cry, and Drake decides that he'll fix this somehow. Back in jail, what is Josh even in jail for? Please tell me. They never gave him a reason. They just didn't. He got arrested in the chaos of the party, but surely they can't hold him for this long without an actual crime. What is Josh being charged with? Drake cuts out a brick from Josh's cell and tells him he needs to escape so he can help him save Christmas for this little girl. How'd Drake know exactly what cell from the outside Josh was in? How did he get past the barbed wire fences? Josh doesn't want to break out. Boo. Josh respecting the rules even after being falsely accused and held without cause. But even though he refuses, Bludgeon knocks him unconscious and stuffs him through the wall anyway. Poor Josh has been through so much abuse and injury. They've had to bust out the dummy so many times already. Guards end up surrounding Drake and Josh at gunpoint as Josh lays there unconscious, not waking up. They move in to arrest Drake's ass, so now instead of just Josh being in prison, both Drake and Josh are stuck in prison. Nice. Drake and Josh appear before a judge in court, and Helen busts in to represent them. The judge asks her if she's a qualified attorney, and she shoots back with, "Is that your business?" Great Helen line. And for fans of Barry, let's take a second to appreciate that it's Henry Winkler, aka Gene Cousineau. I love that. Helen shows the judge a picture of Mary Alice and explains to the judge that Drake made a promise to deliver an awesome Christmas. She warns the judge that it will be his fault if the promise gets broken, if the boys aren't set free to fulfill it. The judge decides that the obligation to fulfill the Christmas promise is a valid reason to be released from prison, but he adds the stipulation that if Drake and Josh don't provide the little girl and her family the best Christmas ever, that they'll essentially get life in prison as a consequence. Gotta love the justice system. And just like that, they're set free. But as they're walking out, their probation officer pulls them into his office. He tells Drake and Josh that their freedom hinges on giving Mary Alice and her family the best Christmas ever, and reveals they'll have a vote on Christmas Day asking the kids if it was in fact the best Christmas ever. If it's not unanimously yes, boom, they're back in prison. He tells them that they're not allowed to tell the kids about the vote ahead of time because it would unfairly pressure them. And finally, they're ordered to wear tracking bracelets on their ankles. The boys are then thrown to the streets and go on their way to Mary Alice's house. And on the way there, Drake crashes and almost kills their old teacher, Miss Hafer, from school. It's nice seeing smaller characters like her and the nerds Craig and Eric in the party scenes. It's a nice callback to all the characters who made the show so great. I love it. The cops pull the boys over, rightfully so. They just crashed the car and kept moving. It's a potential hit and run, and it's their whack-ass probation officer. He gives them a ticket for reckless driving, and they make their way to Mary Alice's house. Once they get there, a boy answers the door who doesn't speak any English at all. Mary Alice sees Drake and runs into his arms, and they clearly wrote her to be the sweetest, most loving girl of all time. But she's only met Drake like 2 times. The running and jumping into his arms thing is kinda wild. I mean, stranger danger, kid, come on. She tells them to come in and brings them all inside. She then introduces them to all her foster siblings: Violet and Lily, the twins who love to fight each other, Zigbee, the foreigner, Trey, a boy who loves to talk, and Luke, the big grumpy boy. I like that one. Luke doesn't believe they're gonna make it the best Christmas ever, and he doesn't seem into it, but he agrees to let them try. Back over on the tropical island, Drake and Josh's parents are not happy about the bungalow, and Josh's dad ends up squirting all over his wife, and then a lobster bites his cock and balls off. Yikes. Back at the foster home, Josh tries his best to entertain the kids, while Drake talks to their foster dad. The foster dad says the probation officer basically threatened prison time if he were to interfere with the best Christmas ever vote. Damn, this guy has it out for Drake and Josh so badly that he's out here threatening the needy in society. That's kind of crazy. The probation officer is so obsessed with getting Drake and Josh in more trouble that he stalks them and then goes over to a group of burly men and offers to pay them $50 for some unsaid task. This can't be good. Drake slaps the shit out of Josh and front of the impressionable kids where they're supposed to be baking cookies, and the two of them decide to take a personal moment. Josh reiterates to Drake the gravity of the situation, and Drake just fingers his mouth in return. They hear sounds of a disaster coming from the kitchen and run in to see the kids have gone absolutely feral. They're destroying the kitchen, and the foreign kid is eating a raw egg, shell and all. Impressive, I can't say it's not. Just pure chaos in the kitchen as Mary Alice watches on sadly, and Drake and Josh realize they're fucked. They decide, fuck that, and abandon the kids to go home for the day. On the way home, some random men jump out of the bushes and grab them, tear their clothes off their bodies, and leave them naked on the streets. The probation officer is waiting on standby and immediately tickets them for public nudity, and then gets Drake's car towed for being blue. How the hell can he even do that? What did he write on the paperwork? That's insane. Josh puts his dick up against Drake's ass cheeks, straight up, there's no other way to say it, and they take the walk of shame home together naked. Megan opens the door and is not happy about it. Drake and Josh try begging Megan for help dealing with their psycho probation officer who's out to get them, but she's busy playing the oboe, practicing for her big solo, and doesn't even want to listen to them talk. Drake claims he has a friend with a Smith Royal oboe they can give her if she agrees to help them get the probation guy off their back. Megan decides to help them by taking their tracking chips out of their ankle bracelets and throwing them into an RC helicopter. The probation officer ends up seeing the boys' trackers on the run and chases after them. They're flying all over his GPS. Is he stupid? He must know they're not skydiving, but he chases them all around town in a frantic pattern nonetheless. He must know something is up, right? Meanwhile, Drake and Josh borrow their old friend Gavin's scooter, which nice to see him as mullet guy Gavin is one side character who was not in the Really Big Shrimp finale. On the scooter, Drake and Josh head over to the foster home, and Josh tells the kids about different Christmas trees to hype them up, and Luke tells Drake he's too cool to go get a Christmas tree with them. Drake doesn't even try to push the issue and just lets him be up on the roof. I don't know. Josh tells the kids that they'll be cutting down the tree themselves, and when they get to the tree farm, you could see Josh's balloon in the background polluting the sky, which is a nice touch. Drake rolls up with an axe, and the two sisters start violently fighting over it. Jeez. They also notice that Zigbee is missing, and after searching for a moment, they find that he's up in a tree. Josh decides to climb the tree to go rescue him. Wait a second there. What will Josh actually do once he gets up there to help? How will he even do anything? It's not like he has equipment or anything. Josh struggles to climb the tree and is barely making it up alive when suddenly he notices that Zigbee has already gotten to the bottom safely. Josh then slides downwards when his grip on the tree fails, breaking and smashing his balls to bits on every branch. No babies for Josh in the forecast. Let me just say that. We can add scrotal trauma to the list of Josh injuries now in addition to being thrown off a building and ejected from a moving car. Ouch. When Josh finally lands on the ground, his balls throbbing, the twins trample over top of him as they fight over the axe. Then Zigbee gives him one final stomp to make sure at least a few ribs are broken. Meanwhile, the probation officer is still trying to find the boys, and he's following the tracker grumbling to himself while Megan watches from a distance and laughs. We then see Josh picking trash and throwing it on top of their van. Where did they get that van? Did I miss that part? And he ends up building the kids a trash Christmas tree that almost blows up their house. Cute scene, kind of bittersweet, showing how the hunt for a tree ultimately failed, but how Josh was still willing to do anything to try to make it special for these kids. What I don't understand is, why didn't they cut down a tree? I know they had some mishaps with Josh falling down a tree and hitting all those branches, but why not just get the tree anyway on your way out of there? You already went through all of that. Why not have Drake cut down the tree if Josh was too injured? So it all wasn't for nothing. I guess Josh tried his best, and the trash tree is better than nothing, right? Mary Alice then asks Drake when Christmas is going to start being the best ever, and Drake and Josh look at each other, worried as they realize they're kind of blowing this so far. Back on the island, the boys' parents might actually die in a tropical storm. Their entire bungalow blows down as they're left to fend completely for themselves against the elements. And I think Walter might get divorced after this. I'm not gonna lie. Back at home, Megan reinstalls the tracker chips into Drake and Josh's ankle bracelets while they're sleeping, and then she throws a flashbang at them to wake them up. If I'm not mistaken, this is considered an act of warfare. You definitely don't want to mess with the slightly older Megan. It appears she's using higher grade weapons as she progresses into her teenage years. She says that she found out Drake was lying about his friend having the rare oboe, and Josh gets pissed at Drake for lying. Megan tells them they're on their own and storms out. Then back at the foster home, Drake and Josh teach the kids a Christmas carol. Luke sulks and says that he's not going caroling with everyone, but Drake says if he's able to sink this sick basket, Luke has to go, and Luke accepts the challenge. Drake airballs it, but then tells Luke to just do it for Mary Alice anyway, and Luke just stares at him silently while sinking a shot himself. Cut to everyone caroling with Luke grumpily there in the background, and everyone keeps slamming the door in their faces, and the kids are not having any fun. Drake decides to step things up a bit and gathers an entire band and Craig and Eric for an impromptu concert in the street. I love the energy, Drake, I really do, but it's nighttime in the suburbs. It's too loud. Also, just a side note, we all need friends like Craig and Eric. They're so damn supportive. The street concert ends up being so lit that they even convince Luke to sing a riff, and he's feeling himself, let me tell you. Afterwards, the kids are hyped up from the performance, and they decide they did so well that they should perform it at the Christmas parade, and Drake finally agrees. Just then, the probation officer rolls up and writes them a hefty ticket. I tried warning them, man, you can't have concerts in the middle of a 25-mile-per-hour road and not expect to get in a little bit of trouble. Come on. Back in their room, Drake and Josh look up shit about their probation officer and end up finding his mother's address and decide to go to her house. What a crazy approach to solving this problem, let me just say that. The probation officer's mother tells the boys that he keeps sabotaging them because he simply hates Christmas. She explains that back when he was 8, all he wanted was a monkey, more than anything. And on Christmas morning, he woke up early and found a monkey in a cage by the Christmas tree. But when he opened the cage, the monkey started brutalizing him and trashing the house. For good measure, the monkey even pissed on his face, then jumped out the window and ran loose into the streets. And honestly, I'll give it to him. That is quite the traumatic backstory for a character to have. I kind of love it. The boys understand now that the probation officer is trying to ruin Christmas for everyone else because it was ruined for him, and Josh finds a website that sells sweet monkeys. So this means Josh is on the dark web, right? In fact, I looked it up, and it is illegal to buy, own, or sell a monkey in the state of California. There goes Josh breaking the law while he's already on probation. Kinda crazy. Back on the tropical island, Walter tries calling for a boat to leave the island, and is told it'll be 3 days. He then sees his wife on a raft already going out to sea to escape and get home for Christmas. Walter runs after her as she leaves him in the dust, and they go on their journey, I guess. Back at home, it's time for the big Christmas parade, and right before it starts, Mary Alice reveals she has always wanted to see snow, and that has always been her #1 Christmas wish. And out of nowhere, Crazy Steve rolls up in a goddamn DeLorean. Not only is that an insane car for Crazy Steve to own, there is only 6,500 that even exist, but I also have to point out that driving through a closed parade route is considered an act of domestic terrorism, and the probation officer ends up paying Crazy Steve to go loudly talk to Drake and Josh about the vote and the possible prison time, basically exposing them in front of the kid. And Steve accepts. He runs over and shouts at the top of his lungs about how Drake and Josh are only helping the kids to avoid jail time, and all of the kids overhearing this are absolutely gutted. Crazy Steve then drives off, and the probation officer celebrates that his plan has worked while the orphan children are holding back tears. Mary Alice says that Drake and Josh were only being nice to them as part of a court-ordered punishment. Ouch. And the kids all leave before the parade can even start. This is so unfair and unearned. At the very beginning, Drake was trying to bust Josh out of prison for the sole purpose of needing his help to give Mary Alice the best Christmas ever. Their entire motivation was to genuinely help these kids before the law got involved and made it a do-or-die situation. So this just sucks in my eyes. Back at home, Drake and Josh start to cope with the idea that they're definitely going to jail, but Drake decides that jail or not, he still needs to keep his promise to Mary Alice about giving her the best Christmas ever. Next, we see the boys just sitting on the sofa flicking through the TV. Wait, I thought he was gonna go keep his promise. Shouldn't they go like work on that? When suddenly Josh sees a weather report and an idea clicks into his brain. He realizes all they have to do for Mary Alice to have the best Christmas ever is make it snow. They head over to Crazy Steve's place to try and borrow his wood chipper, and I'm surprised Crazy Steve is okay with lending out what he considers to be a romantic partner. Their idea is to put ice in the wood chipper to create snow. Hey, that's not how they do it in the Poconos, right? Cut to the probation officer heading into his office after a long, hard day of making orphan children cry, and in his office there is a gift waiting for him from Drake and Josh. It's an adorable baby monkey that comes with a certificate of sweetness so it won't attack him like the monkey from his childhood. The monkey did not consciously sign that agreement, I'm just saying. The officer cautiously approaches the monkey and reads the letter from Drake and Josh, wishing him a Merry Christmas, where they have a sick title drop. After a moment of hesitation, he finally embraces his new monkey friend, and the bond is instant. Beautiful monkey, absolutely beautiful, but come on now. Jordan Peele taught us better than this. We all know that that thing is one loud noise away from snapping and ripping the flesh off someone's face. Something to think about. Outside of the foster home, Drake and Josh fill up the wood chipper with tons of ice, hoping to create an epic snowfall, when Luke rolls up and tells them to just leave. They tell him they're not leaving and they plan on keeping their promise no matter what, and Luke tells them to have fun in jail. They could probably fire back with the same comment to him based off the statistics for boys in foster homes ending up in prison, but Drake and Josh decide to keep it classy and say nothing, and keep working on the ice. They start up the wood chipper, and instead of snowfall, it starts shooting out shards of ice everywhere, completely destroying the entire neighborhood. Windows are shattering left and right, and eventually the wood chipper turns toward Mary Alice, and for a second, you think the Drake and Josh Christmas movie is about to get real dark. The ice cannon almost cooks her, but of course, Drake jumps in to protect her and save the day. With Mary Alice ducked safely out of the way, chunks of ice continue flying everywhere, and the scene goes on for fucking ever. It never ends. And instead of trying to turn it off, Josh just fucking blocks the machine. The scene has similar vibes to the part in Drake and Josh Go Hollywood, where Megan turns on the fans and money flies all over the place blowing in the wind. Except that was a little more fun. It's like they set up a cool action sequence and they put all the effort into it, and they're gonna make you watch it for at least 5 straight minutes. Josh eventually gets knocked out by the wood chipper, and Drake has to be the one to turn it off and save the day. But Drake gets knocked out by the wood chipper as well, and the camera pans out as they both lay dead on the street, and the credits start to roll. Alright, just kidding. They wake up in their beds to see the monkey messing with them, and they see the probation officer in their room, and he explains he brought them home last night. Shouldn't he have taken them to the hospital since they were knocked out cold? But he's like, nah, it's cool. They'll sleep it off. I'll just put them in bed while my monkey babysits them. He tells Drake and Josh their Christmas gift of giving him the monkey meant the world to him, and he now loves Christmas again. He also reveals that he spoke to the foster kids and asked if they had the best Christmas ever. And Josh asks, what did they say? To which the probation officer replies, unfortunately, I have to take you both to jail. There you go. Drake tries to run for it, but they make light work of him. Which, I respect the hustle, Drake. Good move, you tried. Drake and Josh are led downstairs thinking they're being arrested, but it turns out it was actually a prank, and all the foster kids are downstairs waiting to surprise them, with Craig and Eric being there for support again. It's funny how they're always around, and it's also funny how they get real cops to show up for the sole purpose of a fake arrest / a prank. Don't the cops have a real job to do? And if this fake arrest was the only assignment they had for the day, wouldn't the cops rather be with their own families on Christmas morning? This probation officer still has a mother that he could be with right now. We've seen her. Mary Alice tells the boys that all the effort they went to trying to make it snow for her meant the world to them. The kids tell Drake and Josh they taught them so much about the spirit of Christmas, even though they suck at planning things. And the probation officer then asks the kids to finally vote in front of everyone whether or not they've had the best Christmas ever. And dang, man, that's a lot of pressure. They can't even vote anonymously or anything? Of course, after a brief moment of suspense, all the kids vote yes. Even Siegfried finally says yes, making it his first official English word. Everyone celebrates the holiday and Siegfried's breakthrough with the English language, and they sing a little Christmas carol when suddenly they all notice someone breaking in through the chimney and then breaking through the entire wall. It turns out to be Josh's soulmate Bludge, dressed as Santa, and Bludge has a big sack of gifts for everyone, and even pulls out a Smith Royal oboe for Megan. How the hell did he pull that one off? Did he rob someone? Is he really Santa? where's the packaging for the oboe? Helen tells Santa, aka Bludge, that she's a present for him, and single Helen is back on the prowl once again. She's going after a hardened criminal. She likes a bad boy. I can fix her. The kids notice it's snowing outside and run outside to play in the snow without questioning it. We see Mary Alice making snow angels with her grumpy big brother Luke, who's showing her how to do it, and honestly, it's a really cute moment. It turns out that Crazy Steve is the one who pulled all this off by throwing massive rolls of cheese into the wood chipper. That must be producing a strong smell. I wonder how they're even gonna clean this up. Will it just hang around and get moldy? What's gonna happen here? It's also kind of funny that Crazy Steve is smarter than Drake and Josh. Cheese won't kill people like ice shards. Like, come on now. Drake and Josh's parents arrive home in a taxi, and it's a miracle they made it off that raft in the ocean and survived. In fact, how'd they get home within 20 hours? They left on Christmas Eve, and also the waters after a strong storm are probably going to be treacherous. Despite that, everyone shares a hug and they play in the snow cheese as we get one last goodbye for all of these characters. Drake asks Josh if this was the best Christmas he's ever had, and he responds by starting a cheese snowball fight with Drake. I guess that's a yes. The camera pans out to a snow globe and the credits start to roll. So after watching it again 16 years later, let me start by saying, holy shit. This movie was really funny. There was multiple times I had to pause the movie and rewind because I was laughing too hard to see what was going on. I mean, Josh falling off a building and then being chucked out of a moving car is a vision that will stay with me forever. And the lack of laugh track, I know it's something I said in my Drake and Josh Go Hollywood review, but it makes all the jokes feel funnier. Drake getting ripped off by a fake lawyer without a laugh track is one of the funniest things ever. It had me tearing up. The comedy just works so well in this movie, and I was genuinely surprised by how much I enjoyed it. And another thing I liked was the actual message of the movie, that trying really hard and showing you care about someone can give them as much happiness as the deed itself. And I really love that instead of trying to get back at the probation officer, Drake and Josh choose kindness instead by trying to fix his childhood trauma with a sweet monkey. I also felt like the Christmas themes in the special were really well balanced. There were a few Christmas bangers that played throughout the movie, but they were used sparingly. The vibe felt balanced enough where there's just enough Christmas stuff to make it feel festive, but without it being crammed down your throat too much. Because of that, I think you could realistically enjoy this movie outside of Christmas time if you wanted to, and it would always be a good watch. And with how much I actually enjoyed this movie, it really got me thinking, how is this not good enough to get this series a reboot? It was hilarious, it had a great heartfelt message, and all of the original actors from the series agreed to be in it. Surely they would have agreed to do the show again, no? Well, thinking about it, I'm sure it's because Megan and Crazy Steve moved on to iCarly by this point, and Drake and Josh were sadly aging out of their roles, but I still feel we missed out on what could have been an amazing reboot. And more on that for a second. Seeing Megan and Crazy Steve return for their roles while already playing Carly and Spencer Shay was really cool to see, and I'm glad they both agreed to be in this movie. If you can't already tell, I really enjoyed this movie a lot, and it will definitely be part of my yearly Christmas viewings, and I'm really happy I got to re-experience this one. Merry Christmas, Drake and Josh was a great ride from start to finish, and I can confidently say it's one of the greats. But enough of me yapping. What do you think? Do you remember this one from when you were younger? Or is this your first time hearing about it? Let me know and let's fight in the comments. And if you stuck around this long, it would mean a lot if you subscribed and checked out my other video. Alright, thanks for listening.